items and consent agenda so we can start on time, but we'll start with the roll call, please.
Garner,
Here.
Miller, Daffer, Turner, Kehoe, Morgan,
Here.
Kirkman, Selman. Here. Van Acker Jr.
Here.
Got somebody.
Thank you. Oh, the dog? Yeah. Let's see, I haven't been here for a while, so just remind everybody, we're at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, September 26th. Welcome, thanks for coming. This one should be action-packed, so.
Yeah.
I will go ahead and take a report on council actions from Christy.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So the meeting from September 18th, City Council heard the annexation and zoning request to RS4 for the Clear Creek subdivision that's on Middleton Road. 60 single-family detached lots with 12 common lots. They approved it. A little bit of conversation. They have been discussing with engineering the location of an emergency access. They determined that it would not be ideal to be on the southerly property that's zoned commercial where the storage units are going to go in. So they're going to move it to the north. So it's directly across from the school, but it'll be emergency access only. So it was approved with the condition that they reconfigure that access point and still maintain their 17.5% open space, which they agreed to, so it was good. The second item was the rezone of the half block, the Old Town Nampa half block from Downtown Village to Downtown Historic. There was hardly any conversation about that. They approved it, so that will be rezoned. The last item is not something that you guys heard, but it is interesting, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. We have a piece of property that came in years ago for a subdivision. They annexed into the city, they zoned, they got a development agreement for a subdivision. About that time, market crashed. Other developers bought pieces of it. So one section was developed as a subdivision. The next section was developed according to the development agreement as a subdivision. So there's just this one piece that's kind of still left. And the Nampa School District has purchased property to the west of it where they want to build the future Nampa High School. So on this piece that's left of this development agreement, they want to carve out just one little section to sell to the Church of Latter-day Saints for a seminary building. Well, that's not in the development agreement. So rather than going to all of the people now that live in the portion of the subdivision that has been developed to get their permission to change the development agreement, the city exercised their right to terminate the development agreement for just that piece, since it doesn't follow what was agreed to. So what we had to do is we had to send a letter to the developer who owns the piece that could still be developed as part of the subdivision and say, do you have any intentions of following the development agreement on this piece of property? And he said, no. Are you okay with terminating the agreement? He said, yes. So that process only has to go to City Council to make that decision. And they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. So
What's
that
that
got
called?
approved. Huh?
What's it called?
The termination of an existing development agreement.
Oh, okay.
So,
Very simple.
so we only terminated it just for the piece that's going to be carved off for the seminary building. And then what that does is it leaves the rest of that subdivision development intact. So if the developer ever wants to actually do that, it still will match the development agreement. So we had to figure out how to not have to go after 90 signatures on a development agreement to get it changed, and our attorney suggested that we go that route. So
Where is that property at?
it's on Roosevelt,
Roosevelt?
west of Midway. Yeah. So anyway, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Any other communications? No? Okay. Thanks, Christy. Entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda unless there's any discussion. Okay. We have a
Second.
motion. Motion by Steve, second by Commissioner Selman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is formally adopted. We'll move right on, since it's 6:05, to the public hearings. The one and only item this evening is an annexation and zoning to BC Community Business and potential development agreement at 0 Karcher Road for a 3.92 acre parcel, and subdivision preliminary plat for Woods Crossing subdivision. For Biltmore Company, representing Nampa Paving, Randy Wood. For 8 commercial lots, construction of a 10,000 square foot strip retail building, 2 office buildings, and commercial lots for a future coffee shop, fast food restaurant, and 2 office buildings. Is the applicant here? I would go through all the rules, but I think we got it. Please state your name and address for the record. And tell us.
My name, Jason Polson with Biltmore Company, address 1580 West Cayuse Creek Drive in Meridian, Idaho. I hope to keep the expectation of the chairman here with a quick and expedited and action-packed meeting tonight. I bring before you tonight the Woods Crossing project, located at 0 West Karcher Road, just south of the Target store, with street frontage on Karcher itself. That Target store sits inside the Treasure Valley Marketplace commercial project, and we feel this project will be a complement to the surrounding area and provide additional commercial variety that Nampa's created in that Karcher and Midland area. The details of the parcel currently sits as 3.98 acres. We are proposing that this parcel be annexed into the city and as such to be split into 8 commercial lots, again, as stated by the chairman. 1 fast food pad, a 10,000 square foot retail pad that can be subdivided into 4 lots, or depending on the leaser. A drive-through pad located to the south of the property, and 2 pads for 5,000 square foot office buildings on the east side of this project. The property sits inside the Nampa city limits. It is currently zoned as county enclave. We are requesting annexation at this time. It is surrounded by BC zoning and IL light industrial zoning that it abuts against to. We feel this is a fairly straightforward project. As it sits, it is surrounded by quite a good amount of additional growth and development that has happened over the last few years. There are multi-family developments, the Hawks Landing Apartments project, which is just across the road. That is a Biltmore Company project. Additionally, Quail Point Apartments has been developed just to the south. There is additional approved retail and commercial space at Canyon Crossing on the south side of Karcher, as well as the existing Treasure Valley Marketplace and Treasure Valley Crossing complex located near Karcher and Midland Road. Additionally, there's the Nampa Costco, the St. Luke's Regional Medical Center just to the north there. Nampa Paving is the current owner and partner in this on this project. They are located directly to the east of this property. Again, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, Biltmore Company feels that the Woods Crossing project is an excellent addition to the Karcher Road corridor. Will provide additional variety and help continue to support Nampa as a thriving destination in the Treasure Valley for all the residents there to visit. We agree with staff's findings and reports on this project. We recognize and are grateful for their direction, their comments, and their help as we've gone through different iterations and revisions on this. We've appreciated their feedback, and we ask tonight for the Commission's approval on this project. Thank you for your time. I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions for the applicant at this time?
I do.
Yep, go ahead.
One of them is just curiosity. What are you picturing for the office space? Is it like professional thing, or do you have any idea?
Well, we have talked with interested parties. We envision a professional office office services, or, again, without any parties that are specifically under contract. It is a location that has driven a lot of interest and without having anyone under contract.
So nobody interested, yeah, okay.
Yeah, lots of people interested, no one under contract.
No one understood. This might be a question for staff. Are they overdoing their parking here, or are they right at where they need to be, or, you know?
I know we are over. We are not
Over.
over by much. But parking meets requirements, and comments that we receive with a lot of our commercial projects is that more parking is valued by not only professional office, but retail and restaurant establishments as well. So not overdoing it as much as we can, but providing additional buffer and overflow parking for customers that might come.
And that's just a personal thing for me. I'd rather see more buildings than asphalt. And I see all this parking next to Target. I imagine it's not going to be connected. Is it?
We are efforting to reach out to Target, as that is a condition of approval by staff. Target has found to be a large entity that does not have local development resources that we can easily go down the street and have those conversations with. We would like to have this project connected with a cross-access agreement. We would and are intending to include that on our final plat. To put that good faith effort in, we would love to have that connection. We would like Target to partner with us and to be willing and open to at least conversations and future progress that way.
Other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. We will hear from staff and call you back up if we have questions. Christy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. The request before you this evening is for a recommendation of approval to City Council for the annexation and zoning to BC of this 3.92 acre parcel on the Karcher Bypass Road just south of Target. The property to the north is zoned BC. The property to the south is zoned IL. The property to the east is a gravel yard that is still in Canyon County but is enclaved. And to the west is BC, where there is, as he stated, a multifamily apartment and some office space. The city's water and sewer systems have adequate capacity to serve this property. As far as traffic is concerned, the study identified the need for improving the Karcher bypass in this area to provide left and right turn lanes or full widening to the 5-lane arterial section. These improvements are currently underway and expected completion by end of September. The developer should update the TIS based on currently proposed commercial uses to determine if there are any additional project-triggered impacts and corresponding mitigation items. These are all part of their conditions of approval. Public right-of-way at the required width is currently existing along the frontage, so no further dedication is required. Property frontage is being improved with pavement widening, curb gutter sidewalk as part of that bypass street improvement project. So no further frontage improvements will be necessary. The internal drive aisle layout appears to meet our policies, and the development should work with Target, preferably for a cross-access agreement. And that is a recommendation both from our engineering and from Compass, the Community Planning Association. The correspondence that we received from the building department, pretty standard Title IV requirements. Fire department states that it is approximately 1.8 miles from fire station number 4 with 6-minute response time and will generate approximately $12,600 towards the fire district in impact fees. The engineering division has stated their standard conditions of approval, and Compass did have a couple of points. Access was one of them. Drive aisles into the drive-throughs to make sure that the queuing didn't cause traffic issues in that location. The proposed annexation is located on a property that's designated commercial on the future land use map. And there are many economic development objectives and strategies outlined in the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan defines commercial space, economic base, economic development, and the characteristics of strip-style commercial development. It also defines compatible and incompatible land uses. BC zone is a permitted zone under this commercial designation, and surrounding properties contain commercial uses. So all of the guiding principles outlined in the comprehensive plan are found to be met by staff. All the proposed uses within the new buildings will be analyzed according to Title 10, Chapter 3 for allowable uses. As stated, we don't know what those are yet, so these would technically be shell buildings, which are allowed. The development of this property will be guided by Title 10, Chapter 16 of Nampa City Code and will be required to provide a 20-foot setback and a 15-foot landscape buffer. Chapter 16 provides guidance for setbacks, property area width, and requires design review for all structures that are proposed. There are various sidewalks and green spaces that encourage connectivity throughout the site and areas for the employees to gather and dine. It meets, there's no minimum property area required, there's no minimum property width required, so the setback would be the only thing that we would be looking at. The platting of the project will serve to parcel off individual buildings as well as the tenant spaces within those buildings. There are 3 basic laws that you shall observe when approving an annexation. 1 is that there is consent from the owners, 2, that the property is contiguous to the city limits, and 3, that the area can reasonably be assumed to be available for the orderly development of the city. So based on the analysis, staff can reasonably recommend to the commission that the project be approved for annexation. As for zoning, there are also 3 basic laws that need to be met. 1 is that the zoning would be compatible to the immediately adjoining districts, and 2 is that the use or set of uses would be compatible with the adjoining property uses, and 3, that it is in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary, and staff has found those 3 items to be met as well. These are the recommended conditions of approval. These are your motions, and I will stand for any questions.
Christie, I have a few questions, if I may, please.
Sure.
On the neighborhood meeting sign-in sheet, there are 6 entries, and 4 of them are, at least 4 of them are with the Biltmore Company or people that are involved in the development of this project. Is this form supposed to be filled out by people who are in the public, or, I mean, to me, it's like, wow, look at those interests, but then it's their employees that are here.
So Commissioner Kehoe, anyone who's in the room can sign that document.
Okay.
All it is a list of all the people that were in attendance that day.
But generally, it's not filled in by the applicant and his employees.
It can be.
Yeah, but it's not generally speaking.
Yeah, but if they're there, if you hold a
I
neighborhood
understand, I
meeting.
understand. I'm just saying, when I looked at this first, I thought, oh, a lot of interest. But then I said, oh, the interest is all the people that are involved in the project. So
Sure.
it kind of changed my perspective
Yep.
as to how much interest there might have been.
Kind of
Well-
like this meeting.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
going to be the same tonight.
And to be honest, I'm surprised that there's nobody here, because that's another one of my questions is before, like when the In-N-Out Burgers. Everybody was here, and we had a lot of people complaining about the traffic and stuff like that, and here it's something else, basically across the street, and there's nobody here. So how do you gauge that? Anyway.
They've been notified. I
Yeah.
don't know what else we can do.
Well, and that's part of what, another one of my questions. It says that after careful review of the transmittal submitted, so on and so forth, this development may cause an impact at Karcher Interchange. However, with the already planned and funneled interchange project, no other mitigation will be needed. What are some of these other things that are already planned and funded?
Oh, Commissioner Kehoe, ITD is actually going to redo that interchange again.
Again?
So they are adding another lane on the north side as it comes across the interstate and the railroad, and that they have a project that will go from the interchange all the way out to Sundance, adding another lane on the north side to address traffic, and then they have the other Karcher project that goes farther out to the west, out to Farmway, that will be coming after that.
What about Midway, just across from this project where it meets the, is there anything?
Midland
Midland?
or Marketplace?
Well, Midland, if you go straight north on Midland, you cross the railroad tracks, make a little jog, and then you're here or there, whatever you want to say. I'm getting a lot of, am I on the wrong road?
You said Midway, Midland,
We know where you're at now.
over the tracks. Yeah.
Any improvements being done there? I mean, that's a big bottleneck right now. It's just a one-lane bridge or 2 lanes, one in each direction.
Those are all local roadways. They are not meant for high volumes of traffic.
But they get it.
There are no plans to improve that
Okay.
freeway crossing. no.
Okay, that's what my question was. And the last question I had, the developer should update the TIS based on the current proposed commercial use to determine if there are any additional project triggers impacts. This is basically changing from the old, what they planned on, to what they're going to actually be building. Has all that been done? Have they updated their TIS?
I don't believe we've received a revised copy yet. I believe you can ask the applicant their timeline on doing that. But the condition is such that if that revised TIS does trigger impacts, they will be required to complete them.
Okay. I don't care whether they do it or not. I mean, I care whether they do it or not, but I don't care whether they have to do it or not. Just, I know it'll get done if it has to be. Okay, that's all I had.
Anybody else? All right, we'll go ahead and open public testimony for this item. Is there anybody signed up for, against, or undecided?
I don't need to speak. I signed up in favor. I'm the architect for the project, if you guys have any specific questions for me.
Okay. You want to talk to the applicant about the TIS, or did you get your question answered? Okay.
I mean, they're gonna have to do it, they'll do it. I know they'll do it, so not a problem.
Anything else that you'd like to add before we close the public hearing?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Gardner, seconded by Sullivan to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is closed.
Well, it's a nice area to get filled in.
Yep, agreed.
Can't believe nobody's like,
Yeah, I know it's been their way for years, and why it's never been done before, I don't
Yeah.
know. It just seems odd. But I'm glad to see it being done, and I'm sure I'll be there on the weekends, as I am now. But thank you for coming up with a decent project.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no more other discussion, then I'll make a motion that we move to recommend approval and annexation and zoning to BC zoning district and subdivision preliminary plat for Woods Crossing subdivision at Zero Karcher Road for Biltmore Company, representing Nampa Paving, Randy Wood, with all the conditions listed in the staff report, and to adopt the proposed findings of approval as stated in the staff report.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of the annexation and zoning. All those, and the preliminary plat with all conditions and findings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That'll go on to city council. Thank you.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Jeez. All right. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you for coming. Record time. Sweet.